Español. Hola. Buenos días. Doble L, ñ, doble R. Pronoun chart. Spanish toolbox. ¿Qué hora es? Hora de aprender español.
Hola y bienvenidos a ¿Qué hora es? Hi friends and welcome to ¿Qué hora es? The show that teaches you Español. My name is Dr. Danny Evans and I'm going to be your profesor de español. Now, I am really excited, friends, about the show because I get the privilege of opening up to you a brand new world of culture and language. Spanish is spoken by hundreds of millions of people all over the world every day. And so, by learning the language, you'll find that it benefits you in many different ways. Now, before we get started, I want to tell you up front, it's going to be pretty much impossible for me to teach you every word in Spanish during our show time together. So, I encourage you to go out and early on get a Spanish dictionary or find a good online website with a good word bank on it so that you can supplement what you learn on the show. And most of all, when you learn something on ¿Qué hora es?, get out there and practice it because that's the best way to solidify and internalize what you've learned. And you'll be surprised at how fast you become conversant if you just practice. So, if you're ready, go ahead and get a pluma, a pen, or a lápiz, pencil, and a cuaderno, a notebook, and let's get started. Let's go to the classroom. Okay, now that you have your cuaderno and your pluma or lápiz, we're ready to start learning some Spanish. Now, to start off, it's best that we understand the sounds of Spanish. Spanish is not like English. With English, we have a lot of difficulty sometimes because the A can have 3 or 4 different sounds. The E and the I can have different sounds. The O and the U can have different sounds. But in Spanish, we don't have that problem. Our vowels only have 1 sound each, so that makes it very easy to pronounce Spanish, to read it, and to write it. And also, when you hear Spanish, you know exactly what letters are being said and used. So, to get started, let's take a look at the alphabet. Now, I'll go through the alphabet and try to pronounce it after me. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, Y, M, N, Ñ, O, P, Q, R, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Okay, now you probably noticed, looking at the alphabet, that there are a few extra letters in Spanish. We add a few letters to make different sounds in Spanish that we don't do in English. Let's start out with the beginning one. Now first, look at G. G is not the normal J or G sound. It has different sounds to it. Sometimes we pronounce the G with a breathing sound like when a G is before an E, for example, or before an I in Spanish. We're going to pronounce it almost like the H in Spanish. One example of this might be the word geography in Spanish. Notice that the G is in front of an E, so therefore we would say it like a breathed H. So this word would be geografía. Try to say it, geografía. Okay, now going on through the rest of the alphabet, also you'll notice that the H, it was pronounced pretty different than English. It's pronounced H. Now, one thing you need to know about the H in Spanish, the H is silent. It's there in writing, but you will never say an H in Spanish. So for the example, the word we use to say hello to somebody, we would simply say hola. We don't pronounce the H whatsoever. So we just simply say hola. Try it. Okay, now moving through the rest of the alphabet, Move down to the J. Now the J in Spanish does not at all have the same sound as it does in English. The J in Spanish is like the H in English. So we're going to breathe that word with the sound. Okay, so you've probably seen words like this or names using the J. For example, the name Jose. We're going to breathe that J like an H in English. Okay, so let's move on. The L in Spanish has the same sound as it does in English, but the double L is actually different. Many times in Spanish you will see L's by themselves, but you also see double L's. Now anytime we have a double L in Spanish, we're going to treat it like a Y. Okay, here's an example. This is a very popular last name in Spanish. It also gives you one more look at the J. We're going to treat the double L like a Y, so it's going to have a Y sound. So this name would be Jaramillo. Jaramillo. So treat the double L like a Y. Now moving on forward, the N sound. Look at the N. Now there's an N and there's an N with what we call a tilde on it. It's a little curvy accent on the top. That's the only letter in Spanish that has that kind of accent on it. Okay, so if we use the normal N, it's going to have the same sound as it does in English, like when you tell someone no. But what you want to do is push that tongue forward just a little bit more than we do in English. Instead of no, you want to say no. That's helping you sound more like a native speaker in Spanish. Push your tongue forward and try it one time and say no. Now, when you have an N in Spanish with the tilde over it, I'll write an example right here when we say the word tomorrow. And we put the tilde over the N. This N will remain just like an English N, and this one becomes a nya sound. So try to say this. Mañana. Mañana. Okay. Now we're almost finished with looking at the alphabet. As we go through, the only one we really have to look at now is the R. Now the R is a little bit tricky because we don't do this in English. The R never sounds like the English R. It's never going to sound like or r. So push that out of your mind. It's not there in Spanish. I know. Okay, so it's going to be a little tough, but you can do it. Now, I'm going to write two different words over here in Spanish. One's going to have the single R, and the other's going to have the double R. Notice the difference. It completely changes the meaning of the word. Now, this word means expensive, and this word means car. One R makes a completely different word, and it means a completely different thing. Now, to make the R sound in Spanish, this is called a flap. What you want to do is move your tongue back right there behind your teeth where the ridge of your mouth starts to go up. And what you want to do is lightly flap against the top of your mouth with a R sound. So it kind of sounds like this. Caro. Caro. Try to say it once. All right, if you're thinking right now, I can't do that with my R's, it's okay. I hear that all the time with my students, but you can do it. It takes some practice, but keep working on it. Try to say caro. Now, when you look at the double R, this makes more of that Spanish sound that you've probably heard, the trill sound. So it's going to be kind of a R sound. So this is going to be carro. Try to say carro. All right, now let's compare the two. This is caro, and this is carro. Try it again. Carro, carro. Okay, now we've covered the basics of the alphabet. Now I want to get to what I call our toolbox. I tell my students often that the vowels in Spanish are your toolbox. If you have those tools, you can pronounce anything in Spanish. Now my goal for you as the viewer is to, at the end of our episodes, I want you to have the tools that you need to keep going as far as you want in Spanish. Have the knowledge and the tools to keep going, learning at your own pace and learning as much as you want. And this right here, what I'm about to show you, is what I call your toolbox. The toolbox is the vowels. Okay, let's look at our vowels. Again, just like English, there are only 5 of them, but they're much easier. All right, first of all, we have the A, just like English. We have the E, the I, the O, and the U. Now, the easy part, as I've said, is that in English, there are 3 or 4 sounds, but in Spanish, these only have 1 sound each. So it makes it very easy to use. So let's look at the A right here. The A is always going to have that ah sound to it. It's always going to sound like ah. So anytime you see an A, you know it's going to be pronounced ah. Okay. Also, look at it from the other side. If you ever hear the sound ah, you know exactly what letter it is. And if you were going to spell it, you would know exactly what letter to use. Let's look at the E. In English, this can sound like E, can sound like E, can sound like the schwa, but in Spanish, it always sounds like E. So far we have A and E. And again, the good part, the E always sounds like E. If you ever hear that sound, you know it's going to be the letter E. Don't get confused like some people do and hear the E sound and think, oh, that's the letter E. It's easy to do that because we're English speakers, right? But just try to remember that E always sounds like E. But now we get to the E sound. The I makes the E sound. So it's always going to sound like E. So if you ever hear E, don't be tricked and think that's the letter E. It's not. It's the letter I. Okay? Now, we get into the letter O and U. And these can be kind of fun sometimes because as American English speakers, sometimes we like to do what I call rounding, and we pull our lips in, and we like to say things like taco and pull our lips in together. And that kind of makes us sound like Americans, doesn't it, trying to speak Spanish. But what you want to do with the Spanish O is leave your mouth straight, don't pull those lips in, and just say O. Try it. Say O. Okay, now don't pull those lips in because that's kind of what makes you sound like an American, right? All right, now the U, same thing. We're not going to pull our lips in. We're going to leave our lips straight and say ooh. Now, let's look at all of these together. First of all, the A sounds like ah. The E sounds like eh. The I sounds like E. The O sounds like o. And the U sounds like oo. Now, try to go through the list on your own without me saying it. Ready? Try it. Okay, now, it won't take you very long to learn those 5 sounds. As I've said, they all only have 1 sound. So what I encourage you to do is really practice those 5 sounds so that you can remember them and say them without even having to think about it too much. Because what you're going to find is that if you learn these 5 sounds and also those little different letters that we did in the alphabet a while ago, you're going to find that now you can pronounce correctly anything in Spanish. I know it's hard to believe, but think about it. If you just use your tools in your toolbox, you can do it. Let's try a couple of words. I'm going to write a word that's nice and popular in Spain, and this word means pin. This word looks big, and a lot of times we think, I don't know how to say that, but you can if you just use your toolbox. First of all, the B is going to be pretty much the same as in English. Now think to yourself, what does an O sound like in Spanish? Okay? So take just this syllable right here, B-O, and put it together. And what do you get? Right, bo. Now, look at this next part. You have an L and you have an I. Just simply ask yourself, what does an L sound like? It's the same as we talked about a while ago. It's the same in English as it is in Spanish. And now look at the I sound. The I always sounds like E. So now put these 2 syllables together. So what do we have now? Bo, li. Now, the G is going to be pretty much like it is in English right now. And we've got that R flap. This is going to be tricky for some of you, I know, because it takes a while to get it down. It's okay, though. Don't worry about it. So you're going to have that gr sound, that flap sound. Now, what does an A sound like? 1 sound. It's an ah. So put all that together, and what do you get? Gra. So let's start from the beginning. Bo, li, gra. Now take the last syllable. F, it's the same thing in Spanish as it is in English. What does an O sound like? O. So put them together, fo. So now you're ready to do the whole word. Bolígrafo. Now, before we go any further, I need to tell you about accents. These little lines are going to show up in Spanish sometimes. They're only over vowels. They're not going to be over all vowels. They're going to be over vowels sometimes. And before the show's over, I'll try to get you some rules on when those accents show up. But for now, just know that when you see one of those accents, it's there to tell you I'm special, and you got to say me a little bit stronger. Okay? So we're going to say that syllable a little stronger than the other ones. I like to tell my students to step on it a little bit. So we're going to say bolígrafo. Bolígrafo. Okay? Try it. That's right. Bolígrafo. Stress that I because it's got the accent above it. That's all you got to do with accents. If you see one, just say it a little bit stronger. Okay, so now that we have our tools down, we have our alphabet, our letters that are different, and we have our vowel sounds down, you can read and pronounce correctly anything in Spanish. Try it. I encourage you to go on the internet, go to the library, get a book in Spanish, and just go through it and try to pronounce the words. Because what you'll find is that it may be a little bit tricky at first, but you're going to find that very quickly you'll be an expert at it, and you'll be reading anything in Spanish if you just use your toolbox. Okay, so with that being said, now I want you to try some basic greetings. We're going to put some basic greetings up now. These are just general phrases that you would use on the street if you were greeting someone in Spanish or meeting a friend, and hopefully someday you'll be in a Spanish-speaking country actually trying these out. So we're going to put some basic greetings up on the screen, and we're going to start going through them. And I want you to try to learn them and get ready, because I bet you can find somebody you know that speaks Spanish. Get practiced up, because I want you to try to speak to them next time you see them. Okay, get your pluma or your lápiz ready, because I'm going to give you some basic phrases that you can use and speak in Spanish. First of all, you know the one we learned a while ago when we were talking about pronunciation with the H. Saying hello to somebody is simply hola. Also, if you're going to see someone in the morning and you want to say good morning to them, you could say buenos dias. Now notice this word ends in buenos, ends in an OS. We're about to cover two more that end in AS. Make sure you say buenos. And notice that dias has an accent over the I, so stress it. Try it. Buenos dias. Okay, now the next two, after lunch, if you see someone and you want to say good afternoon, you can say buenas tardes. Buenas ends in an AS, and so will good night. Good night is buenas noches. Also, you can say goodbye to someone, which is adios. Now notice adios has an accent on the O. And also that D is going to be a little bit forward too. Push your tongue a little bit forward and say adios. Now, if you're going to say, if you're going to see someone later and you want to just say see you later instead of goodbye, you can say hasta luego. Or if you're going to see them the next day, you might say see you tomorrow, which is hasta mañana. And there's that in with the tilde again. Now, if you're meeting someone the first time and you want to ask what is your name, you could simply say ¿Cómo te llamas? And there are different ways to respond to that in Spanish, but one is my name is, which is me llamo. Also, if you want to ask someone, do you speak Spanish? You might say, ¿Hablas español? And if someone asks you if you speak Spanish, you can say, Yo hablo español. I speak Spanish. And I hope that's true for you pretty soon. You can say, yes, I speak Spanish. But if you don't have that confidence quite yet and you want to say, I don't speak Spanish, you can just simply say, no hablo español. Okay. Now, if you want to ask someone, how are you? There are different ways to say it, but we'll start with ¿Cómo estás? Which literally means, how are you? And to answer that, you can say fine, which is bien, or so-so is así, así. And sometimes people will say más o menos. It depends on where you are. Now, you've probably heard this one. Yes in Spanish is simply sí, with an accent on the I. And then the word no is no. And here are some general phrases that would help you. Also, please is por favor. Thank you is gracias. You're welcome It depends on where you are. There's about 3 different ways to say it, but the most common is de nada. Now also, if you want to say excuse me, and you can ask them, do you speak Spanish? Or whatever you want to say, you can say perdón. So, that covers some basic phrases. Now I encourage you to look those over and learn them and get ready to practice them with somebody. And now, I want to give you some information. We're going to look at the 10 basic pronouns in Spanish. Now, these 10 pronouns are used all the time in Spanish, all day long, everywhere you go, with only minor exceptions. Now, get ready because I'm going to draw these on a chart. Now, this chart has 1 line down and 2 lines across. Now, you might be wondering, why am I going to teach you the 10 pronouns on a chart? Well, you can just memorize the words. Well, you can just memorize the words, and I encourage you to do so. But also, learn the words on this chart, where they go on the chart. Because later on, you're going to find that this chart will be a visual organizer for you. And when you're out on the street trying to use your Spanish in a Spanish-speaking country someday, and you're wanting to say a particular verb conjugation, you can think about this chart and it's going to help you pull up the right verb in the right form. And so it's going to be a really big help for you, okay? So, first thing I want to point out a few things about the chart. This side over here on the left is all singular pronouns, just one person. For example, I, that's just me, or you, it's just you, nobody else involved. And on the right side, we're going to put the plural pronouns. Okay, now up here in these top boxes, if you're good at English grammar, we call this first person. Okay, so this is always going to involve me, and this is second person boxes. This is always going to involve someone you're talking directly to. And the bottom 2 boxes are going to refer to third person, talking about somebody, but not to that person. In most cases. There is one exception to Spanish, which I'll show you in a minute. So right up here in the top left box, write the word yo. Now in Spanish, yo means I. So anytime you can say I do anything, you can say yo. Okay? So in the middle box here, we're going to write the word tú. T-U with an accent on the U. Make sure you put that accent because if you don't, it actually changes the meaning of the word. Okay, now, so far we have I, which is yo, and we have you talking directly to somebody, and it's tú. Now down here in this third box, we're going to write 3 pronouns. They go together. They have to be together in the same box, okay, because they use a lot of the same parts of grammar. So this is él. Now also, this has to have its accent. If you don't put the accent on él, it changes the meaning, okay? Now underneath él, by the way, él means he. If you're talking about someone, he. Ella, you can guess, means she. So we're going to write ella below that, E-L-L-A. Now remember, that double L sounds like a Y, right? So don't say ella, say ella. Okay, now, in this bottom box, right under él and ella, we're going to write the word usted. U-S-T-E-D. Now, usted means you. If you're talking to someone and you want to say you. So right now you might be saying, wait a minute, I thought tú was you. It is. But here's the difference. When we're using the word tú, we're talking to someone in an informal and a casual way. This would be a friend, a family member, someone you know well. Okay? But usted is more respectful. Okay? Now, on this side, we're going to write N-O-S-O-T-R-O-S. Nosotros. Try to say that one. Nosotros. Nosotros means we. Okay? Now, this one here in the second box is the one that's pretty rare in the Spanish-speaking world. This is vosotros. Now, something I want to tell you about the letter V in Spanish. It almost sounds like a B. You don't say vosotros. You say vo. Like a light B, you say vosotros. Now, vosotros means you, plural, if you're speaking to a group and you want to say you. All right? Now, down in the third box, again, we're going to write 3 pronouns. The first one is ellos, double L again. Ellos, which means they. Now, we're going to write another one, ellas, and it also means they. The difference is, ellas is only used when you're talking about a group of just girls. If you say they and it's just girls, okay? Now, one final pronoun, and we're almost done. We're going to write ustedes. Now, same thing as this side. Vosotros and ustedes mean the same thing. Ustedes means you, plural, if you're speaking to a group of people. Here's the difference. Ustedes is used in pretty much all Spanish-speaking countries. Anywhere you go, you're going to get by with ustedes fairly well. But now vosotros, that's really a Spain word. You're not going to hear it too much over here. Now, some countries will use vos, V-O-S. In Central America, I've heard it in Central America and Guatemala. I've heard it in South America, in Peru and Bolivia. So you will hear vos, but they use it in different contexts. We'll get to that a little later. So let's wrap this part up. Let's say the pronouns together. Repeat them after me. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, and ustedes. Now, these 10 pronouns are going to be your key to very effective conversation in the future. So I encourage you to get on these and learn them as fast and as well as you can. Okay, friends, to close each show, we'll have a section called Cultura, and you can guess Cultura means culture. Now, since we talked about greetings today, let's talk about how to greet people in other countries. Now, you'll hear me say many times during the show, do your homework. Before you visit another country, do some research and know what to do and what not to do. Believe me, you'll find it very beneficial to know these things ahead of time. Okay, so here are a couple examples about how to greet other people in other countries. In Bolivia, for example, instead of shaking hands, a lot of times people will pat each other on the shoulders, shake hands, and then pat each other again. And in El Salvador, this is very common for women to pat each other on the arms and shoulders and not shake hands altogether. So these are just a couple of examples. Now, I want you to get out there, learn those words and phrases, and practice them all you can. So if you'd like to send me a comment or a question, you can do so at Que Hora Es at AIB TV